In this episode, I award the irresponsible captain owner badge to Nami. She should really keep him on a leash.
Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the crew. We think we're pretty funny, and we hope that you will too. This is the opening song to season 2. It's where the journey really starts because we've made it out of East Blue. We've got our snacks and we've got our friends. Now it's time to discuss the anime that never ends. Yeah! Start the show!
Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 37 of King of the What Now? We're a podcast where we discuss One Piece, usually the anime, but every once in a while we discuss bits of the manga as well, especially when it comes to was this episode filler. I am Joel, your captain, your host, and also today I am the proud instructor of 50 Kung Fu Dugongs. Hey-ya! Hey-ya! Jimmy, your stance is a little weak. You're gonna get taken out by someone if you keep weak stancing like that.
Come on, Jimmy.
Whoa, who's this? A new challenger's appeared.
Yes, it's me, Curtis, the newbie, almost longtime fan now. I have been told that episode 100 is officially the turning point.
Hang on now. There's levels to this. You can't just go from newbie to longtime fan, but you will no longer be a newbie at episode 100. I almost said level 100. I think once you get to level 100, you are the master. That's the only term that can apply to you.
So once I get past level episode 100,
yes, we'll reconsider.
What am I at?
We will discuss the promotion off mic.
Okay.
We will offer you several different packages, and you'll have to choose which one's most alluring. You'll have to go talk to Jenny in HR is the word, and things could escalate or de-escalate there. Jenny is actually a fierce robot warrior from the future. So sometimes you go and you're like, "Hey Jenny, how are things?" And for some reason you lose 30 points from something called Gryffindor. And we've asked her several times. She's not talking about Gryffindor. She's not mispronouncing it. There's something called Gryffindor.
I feel like that's someone in the future owes someone else from the past a little bit of money.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so what episodes have we kind of finished watching? We finished watching 4 episodes. Let me pull up my little cheat sheet.
94, 95, 96, and 97.
Boom! Perfect. I'm getting a strange sense of deja vu. Curtis is taking a sip of tea, so he won't be able... I was going to ask him to explain. We actually recorded an hour of audio footage for you lovely listeners at home, or wherever you are, because you can listen to podcasts wherever now. And then... the Audacity project might have been closed without having been saved. So here we are again. Luckily, we did catch the mistake before we started watching the next episode, so you don't have to worry about Curtis accidentally trying to keep, multiple story arcs separate. He hasn't gotten to the giant double squid, the 16-tentacled monster from the abyss.
What?
Yeah, that's Crocodile's number one man. That's Mr. One in the organization, is a double octopus.
Have we not met Mr. One yet?
No, you haven't met any of them above. Well, I mean, you've met 3 and 2, but 1 and 4 are still a mystery.
Oh no, he's Mr.
He's
Zero. That's right. That's right. They count with 0 being the first member.
I'm still waiting for the -1 member who shows up. The -1st, the first? I don't know. Anyways, my point is that Curtis and I have already hashed out these episodes, and we kind of have a structure to how we set up these episodes. Sometimes while we're watching them, I will tell Curtis, hey, I'm going to ask you about this element, so if you need time to kind of think about it in the back of your mind, this is going to be a topic of discussion. So if it feels like maybe he's able to predict my questions, or he doesn't take as long to consider them, or there's not as much back and forth, we're not going to skip the episode. We're not going to make it shorter, but at the same time, we are having a little bit of a deja vu. Mm. So that's just we wanted to let you know that ahead of time. Also, the next episode, I noticed that I forget to tell people. We usually watch 4 episodes, but eventually we're going to hit a point where we're going to start doing 5 episodes stretches, only where it makes sense. So just to be explicit, next episode of the podcast will be 98, 99, 100, and 101.
Yay! We have all the Dalmatians next episode.
Absolutely. Which episode would you say is most like Chance? I know one of them's named Chance. Curtis just gave me the deer in the headlights.
Curtis rebooting.
Yeah, his eyes blinked several times. Okay.
I actually don't. Is there one named Chance?
Isn't there? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hang on 1 second. Baba baba baba, baba baba baba, baba baba baba. Speak, apparition.
You're talking about Homeward Bound, right?
No, we're talking about 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, no, there's not one named Chance. His name is Lucky.
Okay, see, I knew there was one that was, thank you, Ghost. Now be gone! Ooga booga 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 booga. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Apparently, they're still celebrating the 25th of Thanksgiving over on the other side. Yeah, so my mind just went completely blank. The summoning just sucked all of the knowledge out of my brain.
I told you gotta watch yourself around
the ghosts and the contracts that you sign. You just have to really read that fine print. Okay, so do you want to hit us with a summary?
Yeah, let me. I have practiced now, so let's see. Okay, so when we last, we saw Luffy and the Straw Hat crew. They were divided. The Straw Hat crews were in Nanohana.
Okay, so divided not in the sense that there was a civil war where Luffy, Sanji, and...
They were physically divided.
Okay.
Luffy was wandering around the desert. Luffy is hungry. He ate all of the food that he stole from that man, and he has nothing left to eat. How will he survive? He sees in the distance the city. He progresses towards the city. He finds a restaurant. He slingshots himself into the restaurant where Ace and Smoker are currently speaking to one another.
Not really on the friendliest of terms, by the way.
They're about to duke it out, but instead, Luffy hits Smoker in the back when Smoker... he hits him in the back when he's not looking. I was about to say that. That's redundant. It doesn't matter. He hits Smoker. Smoker runs into Ace. Ace and Smoker go flying through the wall and go several buildings over. Luffy then proceeds to eat a bunch of food while sitting there. Eventually, Smoker comes back, chases him around. He reunites with the crew. Mm-hmm. Now Smoker's chasing all of them.
Yeah, because Luffy's an idiot.
And then Ace steps in. Mm-hmm. Ace confronts Smoker. They're fighting and gives the crew time to escape.
But Curtis, how can a single man defeat an opponent who's made out of smoke?
If you are a single man made out of fire.
Whoa!
Yes!
That's insane!
Because Ace ate the flame or flare fruit, depending on which translation you are reading or watching.
It's so funny. Really quick aside, Funimation, literally, when they sub the episodes, so in the original Japanese voice acting, they call it flare, and so did 4Kids, I believe. But in the official translation of the manga, and when they do their own English voices, it is flame.
Mm-hmm. So, with his fire powers, Ace holds off Smoker, allowing the Straw Hat crew to escape, except that Luffy is so enamored by watching this fight between fire and smoke that he's not paying attention and takes a wrong turn and gets separated from the crew again. The rest of the crew ends up on the ship, and they're getting ready to leave, and Luffy's in an alley somewhere. The crew can't wait for him, so they set sail. Ace finds Luffy. The two of them start trying to figure out where they're going to go. They're walking through the city. They get briefly confronted by some Baroque Works members who they just take out easily.
Yes. They're confronted by the Billions specifically, which the Millions are trash tier grunts. The Billions are trash tier grunts that hit the gym and are a little bit better trained, but not enough to take on main characters.
Yeah, exactly. So they take them out. They find Luffy's ship. They get onto the ship, and they're getting ready to sail and go up the river deeper into the island. But then the Baroque Works ships appear. Ace takes out all the ships in one shot, and everyone is in love with Ace now because he's awesome. So then they briefly stop to let Karoo off, the duck.
Yes.
So that he can take a message to the king basically saying that Vivi's all right and that she's brought help and that things are going to be okay. Then they make landfall. They briefly confront the Kung Fu Dugongs, who we'll talk about more later, and then progress into a city whose name I have already forgotten. It's the Green City is the nickname.
Erumalu.
That one.
Yep.
And it is destroyed and covered in sand. And we get some backstory on the Civil War, which we can talk about more later. And they then progress into the desert, getting ready to go take on the bad people, Crocodile and whatnot.
And we find out that Vivi's really bad at telling people about the things that might kill them.
Yes, which include sandstorms, scorpions, giant lizards, birds
that trick you into thinking that they're sick or injured and then steal your stuff.
Yeah. And so they do all that stuff, and that's about where we're at. They just wandering in the desert now.
And they gain +1 camel.
Oh yeah, they have a camel now named Lashes that will only carry the women.
Yes, and it's actually the same camel that Chopper met in a previous episode, in the last episode of the podcast. Chopper specifically goes, "I thought it was you."
So apparently he'll carry Chopper. But I guess he's rescuing him, so it's different.
Yeah, well, and I don't think Chopper counts as a person. I think he's just a fellow animal.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. So that's everything that happened. I think that is a wonderful summary, and I can't really think of much else. Oh, we did get, this isn't really important to the summary, but Vivi did explain the actual kind of politics of why there's this civil war going on.
Yeah, and I realized that in the original recording, we didn't talk about that at all. So let's do that now before we forget.
We also didn't talk about King Cobra at all. We had a brief flash of him. I'll remind you of that in a second.
You're right. I forgot about that.
But the for those listeners, here's what Crocodile did. He's a sneaky guy. The entire kingdom of Alabasta rarely got rain, but it had occasional rains, and they would save what little water they got. And then a couple of years ago, the rain just kind of stopped everywhere except in the capital. And so everyone goes, okay, the king must be blessed by the gods or something. This must be the king's blessing. But then it turns out he was illegally importing dance powder. Wah, wah, wah. Which, of course, is not actually what happened. Crocodile set him up to make it look like he was importing it. But now all the people blame the king for stealing the water because the way the rain powder, or dance powder, the way dance powder works is it basically steals the rain from nearby areas. Mm-hmm. And so now to the people, it looks like the king has been trying to starve them all out and serving himself.
Yeah. I will say we are running on the assumption that the king didn't actually do it. I'm assuming that's correct. I'm assuming that I'm somewhat skeptical that the king is still the king.
Oh, I see. Because we saw Mr. 2 Bon Clay's transformation ability.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. Well, though I guess they could have just used that to like set up orders and that for the dance powder.
We may get confirmation of that later, but the point is the way that Vivi acts and the way that Igaram, rest in peace, acted. We believe that they are good people or they are incredible actors, and so
they could be tricked.
They could. My point is that from how we understand the story and from our assumptions, it looks like the king's being set up.
Yeah, and I mean, One Piece isn't the type to like have a sudden reveal that, oh, the person that you guys were working for is actually really bad all of a sudden.
Yeah, we haven't had a character who, the only time we've had an undercover person, it was Kuro, who was pretending to be the butler, and we found out that he was a bad guy 2 seconds after he showed up on screen.
Yeah, they're not subtle with that sort of thing. So some stuff they have, or something they talk about that I thought was interesting was the reason why dance powder was outlawed, right? Mm-hmm. So real quick, the only addendum that I would add to your explanation of the Civil War is that it actually started raining more in the capital.
Yes.
It didn't just continue raining there. So the way rain summoning powder, also known as dance powder, works is that it causes clouds to
mature faster is the logic that they use, which I don't think that the people of One Piece understand weather as well as they think they do.
No, actually, that's because they do cloud seeding for in like real life at ski resorts.
Interesting.
So they will artificially make it snow, and by putting like some sort of chemical or something like moisture or something into the air to basically you put more stuff into the cloud, so it forces it to condense and snow.
Yeah, I do remember that rain is basically when the water molecules get heavy enough that they just kind of fall. So that does make a little bit of sense. But the way they explained it in the show didn't feel as... Because it was Nami explaining it. But maybe she knew she was talking to a bunch of idiots, so she simplified.
But what it does is it causes them to mature earlier and rain in that location, right? The drawback to that is that these clouds may have brought rain if they continued moving along to a place downstream, quote unquote. Yeah.
Down the airstream.
Yeah. So downstream, the rain might not fall, so that it could increase rainfall in one location at the expense of somewhere else. So in the past, what has happened is it actually caused two countries to go to war because one country started using dance powder and the other one went into a big drought. Mm-hmm. And then the world government after the war said, okay, no more dance powder.
You guys can't play nice with these toys. These toys cause you to hit each other, so stop that. We're going to take away the toy and make you sit in the corner.
Yeah, so then the fact that the king was using this to help himself and the people in the capital, but at the expense of his other citizens elsewhere in the country, was what started the Civil War, right? Mm-hmm. That's their perspective on it.
That's the way that they've been manipulated as far as we can tell into... Yep. I completely agree. Now, I don't remember when they showed Cobra during these episodes. It wasn't near the tail end of them. So, another thing, too, we usually watch these episodes, and then immediately after we finish the last one, we sit down and we start recording. We wanted to try and tweak our schedule a little bit, and that caused us to watch the episodes separately. And I don't know about Curtis, but I personally watched one episode a few days ago, the second episode 2 days ago, and then the last two yesterday, which caused... It's harder for me to remember exactly what happened in which episodes. Yeah. My point is, we saw a bunch of people come to the palace in Alubarna, is the city, the capital of Alabasta, and they were basically saying, we're hungry, we don't have the resources, and can't our king listen to us? King Cobra comes down, he goes, listen, I can't promise that I can do anything, but please come inside if you want, and tell me about your suffering, tell me what's bothering you, and I will listen. That's all I can promise, but I'm here for you, buddies.
Yeah, he says, like, the suffering of my people should be my suffering, too.
Yes.
And he does make, like, a point, like, I need you guys to be strong for just a little bit longer while we continue the Civil War. Yeah.
Well, and also, I believe that an earlier episode, they said something about, oh, yeah, King Nefertari, I think... No, yeah, Cobra Nefertari is his full name, but they said he's world-renowned for being a wise and benevolent leader, and... You pointed out maybe there's some duplicitousness going on here with Mr. 2 maybe, or maybe he's been replaced, but that scene was quite touching, taken at face value, assuming nothing else was going on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about all that I had to say about that. Now, these 4 episodes really felt like the Ace Power Hour. We've talked about that in the previous version of episode 37, which is now being reincarnated into a stronger form. But, you know, we get introduced to this really polite pirate. He has a really unique aesthetic. He also has a hat, which is very reminiscent of Luffy having a hat. Different styles, obviously, but... he has the fire powers, which is right up my alley. Fire and lightning are probably 2 of my favorite elemental forces that you can have in a magic system. And he's a good fighter. He took out like 5 ships with 1 fire fist. Like, holy crap, that's a level of power we haven't seen before. And he builds the world. He plants seeds for things that might become important later. Not only is he after this Blackbeard character, who has now been mentioned once before, but he also bears the mark of Whitebeard, who's a name we haven't heard before, but he's world famous. Zoro saw the the sign, and he goes, as a bounty hunter, obviously I would recognize the symbol of the Whitebeard Pirates. And Smoker knew Ace on sight. He was like, oh, you're Ace. I know who you are. You're the 2nd Division commander. And there's just a couple of other mentions of how big and important these Whitebeard Pirates are. And as you and I talked about in the previous, our chats, that seems like it's going to be important at some point. We just can't determine how at this point.
Yeah. We should clarify too. So I can't remember if this was a later question about Blackbeard.
Okay.
So Blackbeard was a member of the Whitebeard Pirates.
Yes.
Blackbeard worked underneath of Ace and then killed one of his crew members and then left the ship. So the reason Ace is here is he's hunting Blackbeard so he can take care of him because it's his responsibility.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's and also it's really interesting because Luffy is the main character of this story, and we kind of see the worlds through his morality. Technically speaking, I guess you can kind of justify some of the other characters. Not justify, but they have their own reasons for doing what they do. Morgan was a jerk, but he was also a member of the Marines and was kind of doing the best that he could, and Smoker is also a member of the Marines, but from their perspectives, they'd be the heroes. But instead of focusing on them, Oda has shown us Luffy, and what makes him so cool of a pirate, what makes him so interesting is the way that he makes such quick friends every town he goes to. People seem to admire him. He has strong ties with his crewmates, which we have not seen from, say, the Kuro pirate, or the Black Cat pirates, or the Buggy pirates, the Alvida pirates. And so the fact that Blackbeard killed one of his own crew members is a huge, crucial detail. I almost wanted to say we've never seen that before, but Kuro and Buggy were fairly willing, or Don Krieg were fairly willing to nix their subordinates. But there's something about the way that Blackbeard, quote-unquote, murdered him, not on the battlefield, like probably in his sleep or something, or like while they're in the eating hall or something, just with a knife. And Blackbeard is probably the most evil person that we've met so far, just through these actions alone. Toppled a government in Drum Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know if that's what he set out to do, but that's an effect that he had, his presence had on the Drum Kingdom, and he killed a former crewmate. So, do you have anything to elaborate on any of that? Yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
I think we covered it there.
Gotcha. What kind of mental image do you have of Blackbeard at this point? I understand that I probably influenced it by giving my analysis of his actions or whatever, but when he shows up, what do you want him to look like?
I want him to have a stereotypical pirate hat.
Okay.
And a big black beard.
Okay.
And he should be a bigger dude.
A bigger dude. Okay. Are you talking wider, like he should be muscular, or are you talking tall?
Wider.
Okay. Interesting. We'll have to see if that comes out. If we even meet Blackbeard, maybe he's just a background character.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably likely. He doesn't seem important to me.
Now, again, a little peek behind the curtain. We have mentioned before that I tried to introduce you to the story of One Piece, and we got pretty far into Pirate Warriors 3, which heavily features Blackbeard in a couple of levels later on in the story, and I think that I made it pretty clear, like, I really don't like that guy. And so I think you have a little bit of foreknowledge there, but the way he's being set up, I think, is pretty clear if you think about it.
I just hope that he has fuses in his beard, like the real life Blackbeard.
Yeah, that's awesome. Didn't he lit them for intimidation factor, right?
So like he just had like this smoke and fire and like coming all off of him.
Did he like put some kind of flame retardant in his...
I don't know how he kept it. He did something where his beard didn't catch and didn't burn himself.
Yeah, because I was about to say, that's the trick you could only do once if you try the, setting it on fire thing.
I mean, maybe the fuses were long enough and he just like pulled the fuses out before they got too close. I don't know.
Okay, absolutely. Now, Curtis, if there's one thing that we talk about nonstop on this show, we're in the middle of an ad segment, in case you couldn't tell. Now, if there's one thing about you that you just can't stop bringing up on Mike, it's the fact that you love all of your goat pets. You have many pets, All of them are goats. You love them dearly.
Goat cats, goat dogs, goat bees. All of your pets are somehow goats.
Yeah, I can't get enough of them goats. It's just, my whole apartment, totes my goats.
So here's what I think I remember. We've been friends for a long time since high school, and I remember one time that your mom told you that she wanted you to be the greatest of all time, which abbreviates to goat. I think that's where it all started. That was the seed. You started getting all these goats. We started coming over for dinner parties, and you had all these wonderful goats. I loved them. Catherine loved them. We've started getting our own goats, okay? We've started to fill our house with lovely goats.
I've noticed, and they're great. You kind of got to keep them away from the get away from the wires.
Yeah, stop it.
But it's good though. They're good goats.
So now that was all lead-in. That's not the product we're selling is not goat. So we have not been hired by the goat farmers of America to push their products on people. What we found out, you and I, both of us, we have a limited amount of space. We want more goats. There's not room for the goats. You have to feed every goat that you have to feed them, and the bigger they are, the more you have to feed them.
Joel.
Yes.
Is this some sort of amazing goat storage system?
That would be fantastic, and I would love to hear from someone who has a patented goat system, because traveling with goats also difficult. So if you could just get some kind of like a little carrying case, that'd be great.
Well, like right now, my goats, I had to start stacking them on top of each other.
And that's not comfortable for anyone.
No, I mean, I just kind of shoved them to the side when I need to go to sleep, and then, kind of like clear a path when I got to go to the bathroom.
So this brand new fantastical product comes straight to you from Infernal Products Incorporated, IPI. They are opening gates into all of the infernal locations that humans dare not tread, and they're extracting creatures from this plane of existence. Why? I don't know. I'm a simple podcaster who's just been told to advertise. They give me a large amount of money, and how could I possibly say no to all of this money, even if it might curse me and my family for generations to come? And the product that they're currently selling is miniature goats. Yes?
They're just cursing your family, right? Not friends?
No, just family.
Okay, sorry, mini goats.
Mini goats are the hot new trend, all right? You've heard of teacup pigs. You've heard of mini Australian shepherds. You've heard of mice, which I believe are a small form of lizards, in fact. And so now we've got are the new designer goats. Mini goats that you can just put in your pocket and carry around. No longer will you have to get just gallons and gallons of goat feed. I assume you measure goat feed in gallons because we have so many goats, and this is not a joke that we are doing for this bit. But we actually have goats.
But Joel, what do I do with the goats I currently have?
Well, see, that's fantastic. What you can do is you can reach out to the IPI, the Infernal Products Incorporated, and you can trade in one regular size goat for many smaller goats. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, yeah, but I mean, but what if I want to keep Dolly? I can't fit Dolly in my apartment anymore.
Okay, so no one's forcing you to do anything, all right? If you have a goat or a pair of goats or all of your goats that you want to keep, you're free to do that. But
it's several hundred at this point.
You know what? That's why we started this podcast, because as we all know, podcasters make hella bucks, and so we're going to use that in order to invest in a goat farm for your goats. Me personally, I'm happy in the house that I'm in, but it's just too much. So I think I'm going to start shipping off all my goats, getting the smaller goats. They're compact, they're smaller, and it's so convenient for everyone. And they're going to start coming out with designer colors. They've got Eternal Black in there. They've got Soulless Gray. They've got all sorts of wonderful. They've got Brimstone Red. I think Brimstone can be a reddish color. I don't know.
I was actually going to ask if they had Burning Orange, but I think Brimstone Red would be a very similar shade.
Yeah, I think that they're going to come out with new colors regularly, and so maybe eventually they'll have Burning Orange.
Do they have a more traditional screeching white?
They do, in fact, and also these goats, they're adorable. They make little tiny screeching sounds. Listen to this. They sent me one named Patient Zero. I don't know what that means, but he's going to do a little thing on mic for us. How adorable is that?
That was so cute. I saw the third eye on his forehead open and shine briefly with an unearthly power.
I think that just means he's going to bless us with good luck in the coming days.
Wait, Joel, can we take that screech and play it backwards?
I play a face down. Huh. That was a It was a strange backwards message. Seemed to
Yeah.
be Yu-Gi-Oh themed.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is this goat gonna turn us into Yu-Gi-Oh podcasters?
No, I really don't think so. I don't think any power on this plane could possibly make us want to get our game on. Oh no, it's finally happened! Quick, go back to the One Piece content! Stop the ad! Stop the ad! We also got a bit, you and I discussed a bit about Ace's Devil Fruit. Not only is he made out of fire, again, super awesome power, but also the fact that he was able to defeat smoke with it, which is interesting. And then also, he seems to have been powering his ship with it. It's kind of like this weird canoe thing, and as soon as he stepped on it, his foot turned to fire, and it kind of self-propelled, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So... All right, Curse, let the listeners know what you think about that.
So I've gone back to my original stance that I think that I think there's a chance that Smoker could theoretically
Snuff out the fire?
yeah, that he could starve it for oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that smoke is indeed flammable, but like let's say you have a log and you light it on fire and then you pull a vacuum on it so there's no oxygen, the fire goes out.
Yes.
I'm curious if smoke, like if you lit, because like so if you light a candle and you put it out, you can light the
smoke trail kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm curious that if you were in an environment where there was no oxygen in that environment, and that all you, like let's say you had just a box of smoke, and then you lit a match inside the box of smoke, or you started a spark, would the smoke go up or not?
Yes.
Without oxygen.
It's hard to say. I don't know.
Well, I'm assuming there's a real answer out there. Just none of us know it.
Well, okay, yes. I'm saying in the context of One Piece.
Oh, yeah.
Oda's pretty good at using, science, and I'm sure he researches how certain things, work if it's relevant to the story.
Yeah, definitely did that with Reverse Mountain too, right?
Reverse Mountain is an element of magic in an adventure story.
I know. I just
the same as the dinosaurs.
I know. I'm just teasing you.
No, that's okay. To bring out my passion. That's definitely the best way that we're gonna have interesting conversations for sure. My point is I don't know the exact interaction between fire and smoke. What he's more trying to set up is this idea that devil fruits have intrinsic weaknesses. We've already seen that a bit. We've seen that Buggy is immune to slashing, but if you punch him, it's still going to hurt him. We saw that Mr. 3 can create these giant wax figures, but they're still flammable. You can still burn them. So these powers are insane. The person able to create wax out of their hands that's harder than iron or whatever the heck he said it was, or the ability to literally have your head detach from your body, but the body's still running around and you can still talk. Like, these are fantastical powers, but they also have weaknesses and counterbalances and things you can do against them. And the example that I used was, what if you had a squirt gun against Ace? He's made of fire. I don't think he can turn intangible if you were to dump a bucket of water on him.
Yeah.
To which you came up with, I believe it was the oven mitt devil fruit power?
Yes, it was the mitt
mitt fruit. Okay.
Mitt, because we figured, because oven mittens, obviously in real life, allow you to touch and hold fire like it's a physical object.
Of course.
Right? That's the way oven mittens work. Just to clarify, that is not the way oven mittens work. Do not try to touch or hold fire while wearing oven mittens. It will burn you.
And if it doesn't burn you, it probably means you're a demon, and don't tell interested parties. They might try to dissect you. Keep that secret for the rest of your lives. Become a superhero or whatever.
But yeah, because then what you could do with your oven mitten, you could turn your hands into oven mittens and you could punch them, right? Or if you were in a cold environment, you turn your whole body into an oven mitten, and then you're good. It's like it's warm. You're super warm. You could get a little more traction. If your oven mitten is like hydrophobic, and then maybe it keeps you dry. It's super useful.
Interesting. Is that actually what you call a material that doesn't absorb water, is hydrophobic?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you apply that to a person, it doesn't mean the same. Okay, anyways. History or language lesson over.
Yeah, just think about it this way. It's so language lesson not over. Just think about it like the fabric doesn't like water, so it's like, nah, get out of me.
No, I get it. It's just there's a difference between being physically repellent and being mentally averse. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But no, so I think what Oda's doing here is he's showing us that devil fruits aren't these ultimate power, once you have a devil fruit, you're indestructible sort of situation. Also, as a reminder, this is a seed that's been planted that is going to grow into a beautiful flower fairly soon, actually. Buggy and Alvida back in Logtown were captured in nets, and Alvida said, "What is this? My devil fruit power." And Buggy said, they have special nets that work on devil fruit users. Which, interesting world building, interesting foreshadowing. But my point is devil fruits aren't this insane, you automatically win the fight if you have one. And the fire versus smoke thing is basically, not only do devil fruits have natural weaknesses, but they also can fight each other. Imagine someone who had eaten, say, the slash fruit. Buggy would naturally be their enemy because no matter how they use their devil fruit, unless they got very creative, it wouldn't work. He's immune to slashing, but the slash fruit user would be super effective, to use Pokemon terms, against Luffy. And so I think what it is that Smoker and Ace are similar levels of power with their fruit because you can train with your fruit and make them stronger. And they're just naturally equal to each other.
Are devil fruit powers physical
too? You know what? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't actually know. You meet characters later who are very strong, who can, I don't know, say they have the power to touch a person and freeze them in place for like 3 seconds, right? That's their power. But you'll meet a character who can do something like that, and then you might meet a character later who has the power to slow people down by touching them, but they can touch the ground and freeze an entire room. And so the powers are similar, but you can see differences in the scale. And I legitimately believe that it's the idea that you can train them. I don't know if it's physical. I don't know if you have to do a bunch of push-ups and that makes your fire burn hotter in Ace's case, or if it's like the more you use it, the more you familiarize yourself with the ins and outs of the physics.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of similar, I think. I don't think it's like, I get what you're saying. It's not like, it could either be like flexing a muscle, or it could just be like trying to
like learning it better, exactly. Yeah. And so, or it might just be that literally devil fruits have a power scale. You put on the Dragon Ball Z Scouter and the Gum fruit is 5, and then the Flame fruit is always a 15. So unless the Gum fruit user trains really hard and is really creative and never gives up, and the fire guy is really lazy, fire will always win, sort of situation.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. Oh, so something else we saw. So we know that in the past, when Luffy has fought Smoker, his punches go through him.
Yes.
But he hit Smoker in the back still.
Yep.
So it's not like he's always Smoke. He's Smoke when he wants to be Smoke. So he has to know an attack is coming, and I'm assuming this applies to all
Logias.
Logia Devil Fruit, which the Flame is definitely a Logia fruit also.
Yes.
Because we saw him kind of turn into fire a bit.
We didn't see the same, like, he didn't get stabbed and he didn't turn into fire around it, but I'm willing to spoil that, yes, indeed, that would happen. Yeah. If he saw the blade coming.
Yeah. So, if you wanted to stab a Logia fruit user, you need to surprise them. Mm-hmm. Or, more specifically, do it without them seeing you coming.
Yes.
Like, surprise, like, not like, like, I'm going to stab you, surprise, and then give him a split second. You got to make sure.
So what about smoke bombs? Could that be the most effective technique for, I mean, this is a pirate anime. We wouldn't get smoke bombs, clearly. But I think that Usopp could actually be pretty well...
Yeah, because they have to know, like, what... Well, okay. It could be effective if the Logia user is not intelligent. Because...
if I was a fire person, smoke just kind of showed up, I'd be like, oh, someone's going to stab me, and I would turn into fire. Right then
or even Smoker, just turn into all smoke. Mm-hmm. It's like full body smoke instantly. So that way... Because otherwise what's going to happen is they're going to come up and you're not going to know what part of your body to turn into smoke. And the easiest solution of that is to make every part of your body smoke.
Could you trick someone with that? Could you, if you knew that you were going to fight Ace and you had time to prepare, you have a Batman-type situation... Could you launch something that looks like a smoke screen, like a smoke bomb, and it goes off and they go, oh no, and Ace turns into fire, and then could the gas be could it be reactive, and then could it cause an explosion? What would happen if Ace was in an explosion?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
So you could do that. If you did something and tricked Smoker into becoming all smoke, could you trap him in like a box?
Yeah, get like one of those
cleaner?
billows and
Oh,
like suck
yeah.
him into it, and he's just like, oh no! Can they get out if they can mold their body? Fascinating.
If
things.
you squish Smoker in smoke form into a smaller volume than his physical body would be, because you could do that because he's a gas, could he turn back into his physical form?
I don't know. We're gonna have to watch and find out, but I like this conversation. I like that I've said this before, you're learning to think in anime terms, and in specifically One Piece terms, because the way that people think in One Piece is different than Naruto or Dragon Ball Z. But, we always want Luffy to win,
Yeah.
but against someone who could literally turn into smoke, or someone who could literally turn into fire, or maybe the villain of this arc who seems to be able to turn into sand. What's he going to do? Oh, he might actually use his smarts, which we know he has plenty of. We've seen him time and time again be an absolute genius, such as when Gum Gum Pinwheel ended up getting him stuck to some concrete and he was thrown into the ocean.
Yep, that's a wonderful example of his intelligence. I'm just imagining now Smoker, his head sitting in a jar clouded in smoke with smoking the 2 cigars. So it's just his head in a jar that's a little bit bigger than the head, and the rest of him is smoke form around him, and he's just like sitting there grumpy smoking his cigars.
Could you imagine if Luffy was the one carrying the jar, and so Smoker was forced to go with the Straw Hats, and Luffy's just like, want to go on an adventure today, Smokey? And he's just like, I hate you. I'll let you out if you say please. No. Okay, something else that I want to go back to is the mention of the Whitebeard pirates. As I said, they're obviously world famous because, again, I would listed all the reasons why you could infer that.
It's like a lot of world famous things, right? Like certain restaurants are world famous fried chicken.
Oh, yeah.
World famous Whitebeard pirates.
Yes. Did you notice anything strange about the... this is a leading question, I apologize. Did you notice anything strange about the mark that Ace wore in regards to Whitebeard?
Yes, and yeah. So, I noticed it had a white mustache on it.
A quite glorious mustache. It was... So you have kind of a cross, like a Jesus cross type of... pattern with the bones, and the face is right in the cross section where the two lines meet, and then the beard is almost as wide as the arms of the cross.
It's
no
like a
beard,
crescent
though.
shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the mustache.
Yeah, sorry, what did I say?
You said the beard.
Oh shoot. Yes, he has a mustache, no beard on the skull that we can tell. And now it's time for your Japanese language lesson, because there's a lot of people who like to make fun of the Whitebeard insignia. Why is he called Whitebeard? He has a mustache. The Japanese word hige refers to facial hair in general, does not differentiate between facial hair on your upper lip or your lower jaw. So, if we ever meet Whitebeard, we can assume that he might have a mustache like his insignia, or her. Could be a bearded lady. Doesn't seem
A mustached lady.
A mustache. Yes.
Mustachioed lady.
A higade lady, to use the Japanese word. But he won't have a beard, or he doesn't necessarily have to have a beard, because the word just means facial hair, and he does have that. He has a nice, glorious mustache.
He has one hair poking off of his left cheek.
There you go. That's all you need. So, would you like to tell me what you would imagine the Whitebeard pirates to look like?
Well, I expect Whitebeard, the namesake of the pirates. He is going to be the old man from Up with a pirate hat and a peg leg and an eye patch.
Okay.
And a
parrot option. Okay, I was about to say.
No, he has a parrot. What happened was he had the dog, and then the dog died, and he wanted something else that talked, and so he got a parrot.
To be clear, the dog lived a long and happy life. Of course he did.
But this old man apparently outlived the young dog. He is very old now. Yes, and now he's a pirate in the One Piece universe.
Exactly. I love that. I love that a lot. The other thing to note about the Whitebeard pirates, again, I don't know if this is technically information that I've seen from later in the series. I'm using that to influence my analysis of these early episodes. But Ace is known as the 2nd Division commander. So I think it's safe to say that the Whitebeard pirates are going to be bigger than many of the other crews we've met. Don Krieg specifically boasted of how big his armada was. I don't know if you compare those two, but compared to the Buggies, the Alvitas, the Kuros of the world, it seems like Whitebeard is much bigger and has a much larger influence. Okay. We did have another interesting conversation too that we brought up. Smoker mentions crocodile. Sorry, let me rewind. As Luffy's running from Smoker, Smoker goes, "What are you doing here, you dang punk?" And Luffy goes, "I'm just here to beat up Crocodile." And Smoker goes, "Crocodile?" Luffy escapes thanks to Ace's help, and afterwards he's talking to Tashigi, who I honestly believe at this point is more useful as a soundboard for Smoker's ideas. She's there so that Smoker isn't just talking to himself as we listen in on him as the viewers.
Yeah.
But anyways, he goes, something strange is going on with Crocodile. I don't like him. He's a conniving pirate, and he's the worst of all, and I hate the 7 warlords of the sea. We already knew that Smoker was anti-pirate. Most Marines are, but I feel like these episodes really showcase his hatred for them. And I fully expect at some point we will get some kind of a flashback, because Luffy didn't want to be a pirate until he met Shanks, I think is pretty clear from the way that Shanks interacted with him. Sanji did not get his chef skills as far as we can tell until he started working underneath Zeph. That sort of thing. And so a lot of the characters in the show are influenced by things that happened before them, historical events or parental figures. So I'm really curious to find out if Smoker has any kind of history with pirates. Did they kill his parents? Did he used to be a pirate and then he found that they're evil? I don't know what's going on with that. Curtis, why don't you hit me up with your thoughts?
All right. Do you want me to give you my same thought from before?
This is your creative process, my dude.
Okay. No, I like this story. This is what happens. Okay. Smoker, little baby Smoker.
2 cigars in his mouth at the age of 7 or 8 or however old he is.
No, just one.
Okay.
How many does he have now?
He has 2 at all times.
Yes, there's one right now.
Oh,
he's working his way up to 2.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought you were saying he always has 2, so therefore he obviously had 1. That doesn't follow. But okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Kid Smoker only has the 1.
Yeah, his mouth isn't big enough for 2 yet, Joel. And so he's a big pirate fan, right? He has like an eye patch. He's got all this pirate memorabilia.
Yeah.
And
he goes to all of their sports games where they face, their enemy, the ninjas, who win championships every year, those gosh darn cheaters.
Mm-hmm. Well, they just disappear and reappear in the goal area.
They're just too sneaky.
Yeah. So he sees a pirate ship going by and he's like, I'm going to go join them. So he sneaks onto the pirate ship. Pirates are like, what are you doing here, kid? You're not a real pirate. Go back home. And they kick him off the ship. They throw him in the water, make him swim home. So now he's really salty about it. And he's like, if I can't be a pirate, no one can be a pirate.
Would you say that he'd be doubly salty in that case? He'd be mad that they kicked him off the ship, and then also because he was in the sea for a while?
Yes. Well, no, so he was salty at first just because he was in the sea. Okay. And then he got out, and then he took a shower, and then he's like,
I'm still salty.
I'm still salty, but in a different way.
Can we put that on a motivational poster? It's Smoker with a thumb up, and the caption is just, I'm still salty.
Yep.
So that's about all the time that we have for today. Curtis, do you have any other final thoughts, anything that you really wanted to touch on?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the Kung Fu Dugongs.
Didn't we?
No.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about it the first recording.
No, we talked about it this recording too.
No. This recording, we mentioned it in the summary, which I didn't do the first time, but we didn't talk about their structure or...
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Perfect.
We gotta talk about them.
All right, so let me set the scene really quick, and I'll let you finish it out. So they are going to get off, and they're going to go to Eriloru. I don't have my notes up anymore. They're trying to go to the Green City. And there's these seal-looking creatures, these dugongs, that start kind of waving their fists, and everyone's like, what are those? And Vivi goes, oh, those are the Kung Fu dugongs. And Chopper, being able to speak animal, goes, hey, they're calling us cowards. And Usopp goes, how dare you? And he jumps off the ship and Vivi goes, no, wait, no! And it turns out they're actually pretty good at Kung Fu. Usopp got taken out. Now, Curtis, why don't you finish up this sweet tale?
So at this point, Vivi informs them, if anybody who defeats a Kung Fu dugong, they become your pupil, and you are their sensei. And so Luffy jumps down, and he takes out all of them.
Yes.
There's just a pile of Kung Fu dugongs afterwards with, like, bruises on them.
And Vivi tried to warn him, losing to them sucks because they beat you up, but taking them on as their disciples, they follow you for life. That's not what we want. Luffy has already just plowed through their ranks.
Yeah. So now he's up there, he's teaching them. He's like, no, now stance like this and punch like this. And everyone's doing it in unison, like, ha, ha. And so they're all like doing all this fighting practice now. But they have to get going. They can't just stay here. And the dugongs are going to come with them. But one, they shouldn't probably wander through the desert.
No.
They're seals. And two, they don't have enough food to keep all of them
well fed.
Yeah,
Yep.
so they give them some food now to keep them at the beach and by the ship. And then they leave them there.
Oh, man. Oda has some really interesting creatures, and they're all, I mean, for the most part, you can kind of see where they get inspiration from real life animals, but then they just have these quirks that are just like, that's hilarious. That's so good. It's just like the hiking bear. The hiking bear was not plotly relevant to the Drum Kingdom arc in any way, but it was just so cute to see him, bowing to everyone. They go, bow to the nice hiking bear, and then he just keeps hiking along.
Yeah.
It'd be great if Luffy had been able to keep the dugongs, and if he just kept amassing more animal companions the further into his adventure that he had gone.
He'd have whole ships of just animal companions.
Okay, so my final thoughts, I actually have quite a few. I apologize. I'm just going to dump a bunch of words into your ear holes, listeners. Firstly, Ace is awesome. I love him. He has a good design. He has a good personality. He has a good dynamic with Luffy where he keeps calling out Luffy's kind of stupidity, but he also believes in his little brother. And they both, whenever Luffy's stupid around the crew, Ace apologizes to them. So good. It's clear that he's probably going to go somewhere else unless Luffy teams up with him to take on Blackbeard, but that doesn't seem to align with Luffy's goals, so chances are they'll kind of, he'll be a recurring character that you'll see off and on again, like Kobe or Smoker sort of thing. But he's really great, and he just is the focal point of so much world building in these episodes. Mm-hmm. He's also the only one to have wondered if Crocodile might be up to something more than just trying to cause a civil war, because causing a war doesn't really get you much. And so he starts to be like, well, is there something else going on here? He doesn't offer any possibilities. He doesn't say, I think this is what's going on, but he does plant the seed, I think specifically in Zoro's mind, that something's up here, something more that we haven't quite caught on to. Another final thought is that I should have my notes open so I can tell you, two things about the last episode that we watched with the Sandora dragons that were going to eat Luffy whole. Actually, three things. One, yet another instance of someone being threatened to be eaten or swallowed whole by a creature much bigger than, most animals are. Also, right before they showed up, Luffy had been eaten by a kind of piranha plant looking sort of thing.
Yeah. Luffy's gotten eaten. He was eaten once and almost eaten a second time in the same episode.
In one episode. It's so that's another pattern. We and the folks at Piece Together have noticed it, and it's very obvious going back through the series. I didn't catch it the first time through, or even the second time with Catherine, but now that I'm going through with you, it's obvious. That's happening a lot, man. Number two thing, as they are running from when Luffy is on lashes, running from the first Sandora dragon, that's what they're called, a music beat started playing, and it is a theme that Catherine and I recognized when we were watching the episode on our own. You won't have, I believe this is the first time it's ever played. Go back and listen to it again on your own if you want. It's not significant now, but it is used it's used later in the series for a specific sort of situation. Like you have the song Overtaken that plays when they're all marching on Arlong Park. Whenever that song plays, you know that they're gearing up to go launch an assault on something, or that the action's picking up. And they have another song that's kind of like, you're on this grand adventure and what awaits ahead of us. I can't name that tune specifically, but it exists. And the theme song that was playing with the dragon sounded a little more like kind of rockish, and we'll see it again. And at a later point in time, I'll tell you what kind of emotion that song's meant to provoke. But if you are if you're rewatching the series, it's interesting. They used the beat earlier than I would have thought they did. Lastly, no, god dang it, I have two more. I'm sorry.
So the first three were not your final thoughts.
No, all of these together are my final thought, and they're not related at all to each other, but there's still one concrete thought.
Okay.
That's how I'm choosing to look at this. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji combo attacked that Sandora dragon and defeated it. Keep an eye out for that. Listeners, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and Curtis, I think we've had like one or two other places where we've had people team up. We already saw an instance where Luffy grabbed Sanji's leg, Sanji kicked, and it sort of launched Luffy into Wapol. If you want to call that a combo attack, you can. I don't think they named it in the way that they usually name their combo attacks, but it's something that happens infrequently but is amazing every single time. And I can actually name many of the other combo attacks that happen later. I couldn't name this one. I forgot that this was the first time that they did it. But it was a slash and a kick and a punch all at the same time, and it defeated that dragon that they then ate because apparently it was delicious.
And meat.
I mean, yes. What did I say?
No. I said it was. You said it was delicious, and I said, and it was just meat.
Oh yeah, anything that is meat it meets Luffy's criteria. And then the last thing. This is kind of a down note, I guess, to end the episode on, but I think it just has to be said. I've gone on record as saying that Sanji is my favorite character of the Straw Hats. There are many other side characters that are also quite good. But just because I like Sanji doesn't mean that I'm completely oblivious to his more problematic characteristics, and we actually saw a little bit of that in these 4 episodes. He bought the dancer outfits for Nami and Vivi, and then they decided to cover up, and he was actually on the ground crying. And I get that it was played for laughs, but at the same time, I don't think that is the best way to handle that sort of situation. I do kind of get it. There are lots of people who appreciate the physical attractiveness of women. There's also people who appreciate the physical attractiveness of men, and they don't point out the fact that, Smoker and Ace don't like to wear their shirts.
Yeah.
They focus more on the feminine side of things, and Sanji is the perpetrator of a lot of it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not like rolling on the ground crying is not the correct reaction to women not wanting to be objectified and deciding to wear something practical. Right,
exactly. So we're not really a political correctness or social justice kind of podcast. And obviously, with Catherine sending this episode out, it's kind of odd to bring it up, but these are the episodes we happen to be watched. It's the most relevant time to bring it up. I'm just going to say that you can be a fan of something while also noting that there are parts of it that could be improved. If I had a magic wand and I could literally only change one thing about One Piece, it would be the objectification of women. And I don't even know if that's the right term for it, because that's part of it, but also their role in the story. I would just have a couple more competent female characters, because we only have Nami right now, and she's not a fighter, she's a stealth person.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's a result of it being a shonen anime that started, 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, it was, like 96, I think it started.
Yeah.
Almost 20-something years.
And, I mean, not that that's, like, an excuse, but just like if you're trying to understand like why it is the way it is,
sure,
right? Like yes, there are lots of things to like about One Piece, and we can acknowledge the problematic portions and still enjoy the good portions.
Yeah, it's something I like to call the rarity. I actually don't have a name for it. I was trying to come up with something pithy off the top of my head. If you've ever watched My Little Pony, the newest generation, Friendship is Magic, there's a character, Rarity, who is supposed to be the element of generosity. So in episodes that are about her where she's the focus, she's very generous, to a fault sort of thing. She'll give you the coat off of her back situation. But then in episodes that aren't about her, they overplay how kind of needy she can be. And instead of the element of generosity, she's more like the element of, I need all of the attention, which is a negative thing. And so I think that Sanji's a lot like that too. When Oda wants to give him moments where he shines, he's going to be the chivalrous knight, he's going to be the protector, he's going to be the one who feeds the hungry, all admirable things. But then in ones where he's playing the joke character, his negative qualities are amplified and not great. So just kind of keep that in mind.
I have one more final thought now.
Oh yeah, because don't we have a new closing?
We do.
All right.
And I made sure to make 2 lines of notes.
Wow.
By 2 lines, that's 2 lines on my phone screen, so not that many words.
Would you be able to say that this is the length of a tweet? Could you safely tweet your opinions?
Oh yes.
Of this? Okay.
No, this is short enough. It could have been tweeted before they made tweets longer.
Wow.
Yeah, like back in the
120 days.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We're getting sidetracked.
Yep. Okay. So the new closing is kind of like a mellow-ish pop rock. It's not super. I mean, not like slow mellow, but like, not like fiery and full of energy, right? And I would say it's best described as the pleasant adventures of Chopper.
This really is. A lot of the other closings, I can't name them all off the top of my head or picture all of the images that they play with them, but they've all kind of cycled through different members of the crew, and this one has Chopper in every single one of them.
Well, everything's about Chopper in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's nice.
It's pleasant. I highly doubt that I'm going to remember it. Most of my favorite soundtracks are more upbeat and a little bit more rockish than this was. But I don't have any major complaints, just not really my style.
Yep.
And that was your doot.
Final thought.
Outro goes here.
In this episode, I award Oda the Vor badge for finding yet another way to vor his characters.
What's scarier than a giant mouth eating you? Answer me that. So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are King of the What Pod. King of the What Pod at gmail.com, patreon.com/King of the What Pod, kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host.
Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.